Welcome to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Who do they serve? Tell me, who do they serve? They tell you in all their music videos, but you guys don't want to listen. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of you need to watch this music video again and pause every second and look at every single detail. But at the end of the day, who do they worship? There's something extremely concerning that I've been noticing that Hollywood has been pushing the last few years, and that is occultism mixed with Christianity. For example,
I feel like people are always surprised. They'll be like, what? You witches? Like, yeah, you know, I get that all the time. Believe in God? When I talk about that I read the Bible every day, people are like, yeah, you do?
let me tell you guys this. When you're a Christian, the world will not question it because of your fruits, because of the way that you're living your life. No one should be shocked that the Kardashians are Christians if they were truly Christians. The reason why the world is shocked is because they don't practice what they preach. I can show you multiple Hollywood celebrities that claim to be Christian but constantly reference Satan. So tell me, who do they worship and why are they constantly doing this? Some celebrities like Lil Nas X have parents who are gospel singers. By the way, doesn't this look a lot like this? And just like Chapel Roan, church girl turned into, well, Hollywood. And tell me, what did Satan cast into the swine again? Don't be fooled by Hollywood, you guys. Even Satan knows the name of God. And to be honest with you, I feel like Doja Cat spoke for them all. I said what I said. I'd rather be famous instead.
This is one that I'm having to learn as a new Christian. I just ignorantly assumed before that anyone who claimed to be a Christian was likely a Christian. But according to scripture, these people are just playing the role of the blind leading the blind. It's pretty sad to see because I don't think all of them are lying. I think some of them probably think they're good, like Bieber. That dude may have some questionable music videos, but he talks about his faith all the time. I'm kind of torn. Is he genuinely trying to follow the right path and he's just entrenched in a satanic industry that's pushing back? Or is he just misleading people with this God loves and accepts everyone for who they are stuff? I feel kind of icky questioning other people's faith. It is not my place. But when their actions don't match the words they're speaking, it's pretty difficult to not see it for what it is. Deception to lead people to destruction.
It turns out these ancient Amazonians hacked the soil somehow, and modern science just figured out exactly how they've done that. For centuries, explorers found patches of mysterious black soil scattered through the Amazon. It was richer, darker, and way more fertile than anything around it. And they called it Terra Preta, literally black earth. No one knew what it was. It was thought to be volcanic. Others believed it was natural miracles taking place. But now scientists have cracked it, and what they found is insane. These ancient people in the Amazon weren't just living in the jungle. They were engineering it. What they were making was called biochar, a type of charcoal made by burning organic material without oxygen. So somehow they've made it an oxygen-depleted environment, it's quite hard to do. You can't just do it in the open air. And then they buried it along with broken pottery, fish bones, and compost. And the result is soil so rich, it still grows crops hundreds of years later without any added fertilizers. It's still nutrient rich after hundreds of years of growth. It's basically the polar opposite of modern farming, which destroys the soil. This improves it. And the best part is scientists now say we can recreate it. No more pesticides or all of that other crap that we use now. We could do this. Biochar traps carbon in the ground for thousands of years. That black dirt that those ancient people made could literally be the key to saving the planet. Imagine soil that just never becomes redundant. You could revitalize so many different areas using this technology. But the real question is, why did they stop making it? What happened? How were they able to make it? And why aren't we doing it right now?
Going strictly off the evidence, they were probably taught how to do this by one of the Nephilim after the flood, just like all the other ancient civilizations who have a tale of some godlike being coming down from the clouds and helping them to jumpstart civilization. Then I assumed that the group responsible for this was just wiped out whenever the white man showed up with new illnesses and diseases that they had never been in contact with before. Oddly enough, if you do a little digging on this, you'll see that this was a practice attributed to the pre-Columbian Colombian Amazonians, like the Cuicuro tribe, yet they claim that there's still roughly 600 people alive in that tribe today, and they still utilize this biochar terra preta soil to this day. So my big question is, how is science just figuring this out? Did no one think to just go ask the people that are using it how they're pulling it off? Hey, don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com.
Have y'all seen this satellite thing? Look, it starts in the 50s. Look how many satellites. Look, keep watching. Look, we're only in the 70s, and look how many. There's already like 500 satellites. We're in the 90s. Oh, we broke 1,000. Look how many satellites. What's going on? Stick with me now. If that were true, here's a picture of the Earth. This is actually from NASA too. Look. Looks like they forgot to put in the curve on this one. But anyways, do y'all see any of those satellites? There's multiple pictures, and there's I don't ever see them. Yes, this is NASA, by the way. Look, the Earth view from 100,000 feet. Now, it's kind of weird how the other picture of 100,000 feet, that was a massive curve, but we're talking about satellites right here, so listen up. Real quick before that, though, did y'all know this was put out in the 1897 New York Journal? What's up with that? You know, why would they put that out there just to say, oh, well, this is what flat earthers think, but it's not true? Is that what they were doing? Tell me. I just want to know where the satellites are at. Why can we not see them? If there's really over 10,000, where are they at? Just think about that for a minute.
Supposedly, satellites orbit at a height of about 100 miles up to 22,200 miles up. The photo that he's using to point out that you can't see any of these satellites in the sky was taken at, according to the photo that he showed us, 100,000 feet up. That's roughly 18.9 miles from the surface. If those numbers are correct, that still puts you at roughly 80 miles below the nearest orbiting satellite in that photo. And they say that these satellites range in size from the size of a shoebox up to the size of a bus. And while you would think that you would need to look down from that height to see any orbiting satellites, they're actually all above it, outside of the Earth's atmosphere, beyond the Kármán line, supposedly to prevent drag and help them maintain an orbit. I 100% believe that they're either lying to us about the purpose of some of these satellites, or at least lying to us about the technology being utilized to get them up there and keep them there. I don't think that this photo is the smoking gun he thinks it is, though. I just feel like it's too easy to disregard. They've done a good job making this one make sense if they're lying.
So what I got here is a pictorial album in the history of the 1893 World's Fair. This was printed in 1894 in Chicago. Let's let them tell us in their words how this went down, and look at the pictures of what they built in a very short amount of time. So I'm going to bring you around. Now let's try to follow this timeline that's laid out in this book. So it starts as far back as 1882. Chicago was suggested as a proper place for the World's Fair. 3 years later, Chicago Commercial Union League and Iroquois Club appointed a joint committee to take action and report. So 1886. Then it was Chicago businessmen that came forward and began to take action in July 1889. So by July 1889, nothing had still been done. So now we have December 11th, 1889. Senator Cullum of Illinois introduced the first World's Fair bill into the United States Senate. All right? Now, Washington, D.C. and Chicago were going back and forth as who was going to have the World's Fair. Well, February 24th, 1890, all opposition was overcome, and Congress voted to have the exposition in Chicago. But we come all the way down here, and it wasn't until June 26th, 1890, the funds were released, and they had their first meeting of the National Commission. So less than 3 years later, all of what I'm about to show you was built and up and running and ready for a World's Fair. There's a bird's eye view of the World's Fair. Just part of it. This is the electricity and mining buildings. Do you see how big those are? Look how small the people are on those things. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. I mean, they built that in 2+ years. Just look at how big some of these buildings were. The mines and mine building. The dimensions are 700 by 350 feet. The height of the main cornice is 65 feet. The entrance on each side of the building, the grand entrances being at the north and south, These are 110 feet high and 32 feet wide. All right. The transportation building, its dimensions, 256 feet by 960 feet. The floor area was 9.4 acres. Here's the transportation building I was just talking about. And here's one of the machinery hall. Just absolutely massive. And in this entire book, even though they built all this in 2 years, there's not one single picture in here of anyone building anything or anything being constructed halfway through. All they're showing you is the final product. Just look at that detail. All those fountains, that boat, those statues. Look at the Statue of Liberty they have right there. Look how little those people are next to it in that boat. You cannot convince me this wasn't a Tartarian world that they wiped.
Did anyone else notice that the figure in that book that they had listed as the Statue of Liberty was not the Statue of Liberty? Apparently, that statue was called the Statue of the Republic, and it burned up in 1896 due to arson. As much as I want to believe this book, seeing that clearly mislabeled detail that would be obvious to everyone, which now that I think about it, could have been done intentionally to sow doubt, but it does make me question the accuracy of everything else in the book. That's a pretty big mistake to make. However, I'm not saying that I buy the official narrative. One interesting detail I've recently discovered is that even though all of these buildings were supposedly built with the intention on tearing them down, so they used cheap throwaway materials, there is one of these World's Fair buildings still standing today. The Palace of Fine Arts, which has now been converted into the Museum of Science and Industry, was supposedly restructured and rebuilt with better materials and preserved. It sounds to me like they just decided to keep that building.
Well, I have said before on film, I don't believe it's a UFO cover-up. I believe that it's a time travel cover-up. My father, we had the documents. We don't have them anymore on the Philadelphia experiment. Einstein worked on it. My father did reveal that. And I just don't believe, I have said at a very important meeting about time travel. They wanted to know what my father knew and such like that. I have stated my issues, that there is no future and there is no past. There's only now. And the way that I think of it is very simple. As a computer, there are icons. You know your birth, you know your mother, and you know your birthdays, you know when your child was born, and each one is a picture within the brain. Well, the way that time works is those icons are sideways. There is no future, there is no past. There's only the memory of those icons. And can you draw from them as a human being? Yes, you can. But there are those that cannot do that. So if the ET would land here, he would have that ability, and it would segregate our society. See, there are other issues besides religion involved. There's the mental parts that are involved. I don't know if that's hard to follow or what, but these are the type of mind games that need to be played to understand why they do not reveal themselves to the masses.
Going back to but time is, different to what we think. Trying to break down what you're just saying there. So
Jesus is dying on the cross right now.
So all past lives, future lives are happening
We
now.
are limited beings. All we can see is when we were born and our timeline to when we die. It's insignificant in relation to the trillions and the universe. It's insignificant. There is no start if you look at that. It's like Voyager looking back from the edge of our universe, looking back and seeing one single pixel. Is it important? No. Our whole existence is not important into relation. So why should we measure time? We know we go on after our death. We know we were somewhere before our death. My thinking is that human existence is just a coffee break from eternity.
This is by far my favorite clip of the day. I don't know if this is just this guy's theory or if he's spilling the beans here, but this is a wild idea. If this is the reason for the cover-up, that they want to hide the fact that these beings have the capability of manipulating time, that would make perfect sense. If you can time travel, you can prove which historical moments actually took place. You could go back and film historical moments and prove the truth to the current population. Our leaders would never be able to lie again. Everyone would demand proof anytime they tried to manipulate us. Anyone in charge who wants to stay in charge would have no choice but to keep something like this under wraps. This would force people to be above board, and nobody running the show today is going to have any interest in that. bad.
If you're still of that belief, you should stick around, because I have a little different story for what I think these are. And I've seen this with my own eyes, and I'll tell you one thing. It's not 350 miles away. Because this 747 captured from a Nikon camera is probably only about 6 miles up. And this guy has to zoom way in on it to even have it visible. And a 747, it's almost the size of a football field. And these supposed satellites in space are the size of a table. And they are supposedly 342 miles up. So before we get into what I actually think it is, you need to think about this. A 747, which is literally almost the size of a football field, only travels at a height of 6 miles. And they're trying to tell us that those satellites that are the size of a kitchen table can be seen from 350 miles high. 6 miles high, size of a football field, 350 miles high, size of a table. You do the math. Not to mention, if you go Google any images of these Starlink satellites. Now let's get into what this actually is and why they don't want you to know what it actually is. Do you know that airships used to be a very easy, affordable, and comfortable way to travel? Because unlike blimps of today, where there's only room to be a passenger down here, these giant airships, you traveled inside of them, and there was massive amounts of room. And because of one single accident with the Hindenburg, it just scared everybody away from this form of travel. Or did it? You see, I still think these are around, and there's even evidence of it, and I'm going to show you. Because not too long ago, there were plans for construction of a massive airship, 3/4 of a mile long, in fact. And do you think that they just crumpled that up and threw it away? I don't think so.
Just look at it. At over 1,000 feet long, it would have 12 million feet of helium capacity and be able to carry over 100 tons. The hull of the dirigible would be made up of modern materials for the time, such as titanium and lightweight fiberglass. But it was far more than just an experimental flying fission reactor, but more like a city in the sky, with a vast hotel, a sky promenade, a heliport, and even a raging nightclub. I'm not kidding, it even had a bar and nightclub that was included specifically on the blueprints. This Atoms for Peace airship was not only a fantastic vision for a brave nuclear-powered world, but one that would have relaunched dirigible travel as a fantastic flying cruise ship alternative to jet travel.
Now at this point you might be saying, how on earth could that be what's up there and I don't see it? And why would they hide it from us? Well, I'll show you. Let's first just look at these two. With zero budget, just a couple of different mirrors that are literally angled this way, and they make her disappear. Now imagine having billions of dollars coming into you through, say, I don't know, $70 million a day from NASA. What could you do with that budget when these two can literally make her disappear just with mirrors? This technology is out there, and it's not as complicated as you might think. But even if they do have cloaking capabilities, and even if it is up there, well, why would they want to hide this from us? Why would that be? I'll tell you why. Because airship travel is extremely affordable, extremely comfortable, and it can transport massive amounts of people at a very cheap cost. They want you spending your money every chance possible. And if you can travel affordably and comfortably all the time, well, then they don't have control of you. And they especially wouldn't have control of you traveling somewhere like, say, the North Pole or Antarctica, and maybe past Antarctic treaty ice walls that they don't want anyone going to. So if they create a little bit of a accident and put fear into the minds of the population, well, then we don't argue, give us back our airships.
That was a great example of what I was talking about earlier. The clip at the beginning that shows that 747 being filmed in the sky, the guy was supposedly 6 miles below it. It's the size of a football field, and he had to zoom in a ridiculous amount in order to even pick the thing up on his camera. Those satellites do have plausible deniability. You just simply wouldn't be able to see them if they're up there. And when he says that these satellites are 342 miles up, that's only the Starlink satellites. Some of these things things are over 20,000 miles off the surface. And according to the internet, those Starlink satellites don't even have any lights on them. That's supposedly just the flat surface of the satellite reflecting the light coming off the sun. When you think about it like that, it does make sense. We wouldn't be able to make out the shape of one of those things, I'm betting, but seeing the sun's rays reflect off of it like that makes perfect sense. That's what we see the moon do every night, and that light makes it here. Personally, I think the airship aspect of this video is just wishful thinking. I'd love to see them bring those things back too, but I just don't see it happening.
So, headline is, International Court to investigate Pope Leo's complicity in the ritual unaliving of kids and the disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi. And then it starts, eyewitnesses saw Leo Robert Prevost at the 9th Circle sacrificial ceremonies as early as September 1978. And there's a picture of her. Rome and Brussels, the court that prosecuted Pope Benedict and forced him from office is launching a criminal lawsuit against Pope Leo, charging him with complicity in unaliving, criminal conspiracy, crimes against humanity. The case against the Bishop of Rome is based on new evidence linking him to the ritual R-wording and unaliving of kids as a newly ordained priest, and to the torture and disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi on summer solstice of 1983. Investigators with the International Common Law Court of Justice have interviewed a former participant in the Ninth Circle cult, as well as a victim survivor of its grisly rituals. Both witnesses claim that Robert Prevost participated in the unaliving of kids as part of his induction into the cult. So, you know, we've probably got a lot of people on here tonight, Kevin, who are not familiar with the Ninth Circle. I know you've explained it several times, but could you just explain it one more time, please?
Yeah, it's formed, we believe, by the Jesuits in the 16th century. It's a child sacrificial cult, operates within the Catholic Church. It's intergenerational, so there's prominent families who are part of this. They raise their children in it, usually sacrifice their firstborn in order to, you know, move up the hierarchy of the cult. And it operates also as a blackmailing agency. We've had survivors like Toast Nienhaus, Anne-Marie von Blienberg say that Anne-Marie was a lawyer who was brought to what she was told was going to be a dinner. Turns out they were sacrificing a child there, and you know, they blackmailed her and controlled her that way. So it has political purposes, spiritual ones. You've talked about this kind of energy vampirism, but also it's very lucrative. It's part of the human trafficking network all over the planet. The Catholic Church is embedded in and profits hugely from. Again, I mentioned that in my book, Dethroning a Rogue Power, that we've sold over 700 copies of this in this month alone, if you can believe it. So it's been a huge success. So that's kind of in a nutshell what the Ninth Circle is all about.
Looks like I got a new book to add to the reading list. Stuff like this shouldn't be surprising to me. I've had my suspicions about the Catholic Church since I was a little kid. The only thing I ever heard about the Catholic Church while I was growing up was just the occasional scandal, where time after time they get exposed for just moving a known predator into a new church in a new town instead of turning them over to the police like they should have done. I think this is just another example of these evil individuals doing things back in the 80s, not realizing that we were going to have the internet one day and people were going to be able to go digging and uncover all their dirty deeds. This hasn't been proven to be true yet, but if it is proven true, I hope that this is the start of the fall of the Catholic Church. They are literally leading people to certain doom. I can't help but to want to see that fall.
Maurice Ward, a British hairdresser with zero formal science training, accidentally mixed chemicals in his shed, and the result was a paste that could resist 10,000 degrees Celsius heat. It could survive a nuclear blast without letting anything burn. Paint your house with this, you're good. His moment of fame came on BBC's Tomorrow World show in 1990. They coated an egg in his paste, blasted it with a blowtorch for minutes, and it stayed completely raw on the inside. The material was named Starlight. It's an intumescent material, a thin coating that expands into a foamy carbon under heat, reflecting and dissipating energy as it hits it. The material's 90% organic with polymers, ceramics, and 21 ingredients in total. Ward would not reveal his formula. He had extreme mistrust for everyone around him. He knew what he invented made him a huge target. He demanded 51% ownership out of all deals that approached him. And apparently when he died in 2011, the secret died with him. Thousands of amateurs tried recreating it with flour, glue, baking soda, but copies fell short every time. Apparently ThermoShield is the company that acquired this secret in 2013, and they claim to have it, but no products exist yet. Or is it being used? We just don't know about it.
I don't think it's even within the realm of possibility that this guy's secret died with him. If he had information that the U.S. government wanted, I'm certain they got their hands on it. I'm betting they bugged his apartment or hid cameras in his workshop or something and got their hands on this formula. Then they probably just worked behind the scenes to kill any deals that he had coming his way to keep anyone else from getting their hands on it. Therefore, keeping this guy from banking off of his own invention and simultaneously keeping it out of the hands of anyone else but themselves. I have no doubt that's how this all played out. If you ever invent something like this that's going to revolutionize the entire world, your best bet is to just release it to the public and enjoy the fame that comes along with it. If you hold out for a payday, you almost always end up dead under suspicious circumstances.
Or on their pressurized spacesuits have actually worked on the moon.
What I do is I pull a vacuum in this chamber I created, and I have a glove inserted inside of it, and it was to prove that the flexibility they shown in their suits and gloves are impossible. Right now, I can put my hand in there and I can move it every which way. I can grasp, I make a fist, I can lift up, down. But as soon as I throw this switch here, I evacuate the chamber.
As air is sucked out of the machine, the vacuum makes it more and more difficult to move the glove.
And this glove doesn't want to move. I can't bend it backwards. I can hardly force it down. I mean, how could you pick up small screws and bolts like they've shown them to do? Or trigger a little tiny trigger on a camera with the glove doing this.
Just another clear example of them lying about space exploration, and NASA's answer to that question when they're asked about it, their gloves are designed better. I don't buy that. NASA claims that they have specialty designed gloves that have more flexible material, that have built-in joints and knuckles to allow the astronauts to move their fingers around freely. I'm sure that would be the route they would try to go in to try to solve for this issue, but I just don't buy it. If they had a way to make a glove that could withstand these effects, would they not design a glove like that for use with vacuum chambers here on Earth? Wouldn't they want to be able to pick up whatever object in the vacuum chamber is that they're trying to interact with? If they have that technology available, it just doesn't make any sense that they're not utilizing it in other areas where it could be beneficial. Specifically, other areas that require interaction with a vacuum chamber. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back soon with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com. And don't forget to drop a photo of your merch over in the Discord to get your photo in a video. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.